another interview. Let's start today. Um, this will be probably a few more interviews that I take on just so that I feel more confident in myself to express my thoughts and the things that I delivered in an interview setting. And after this, we will try a bunch of other AI roleplay scenarios as it goes. I'm completely unprepared. I'm just trying out to bring out the best conversations and interviews in these videos. So let's get started.
Hello, Milind. I'm Sam, and I'll be conducting your interview today. Let's start with a basic question. Can you explain what React components are and how they work?
Oh, interesting. React components in general are kind of a philosophy that React gives us to build in a componentized structure, a front end code. So, because React is essentially a UI library, we build UI components into it and add logic inside them to perform according to our business or UI use cases. So React components are these files where we can keep the atomic UI components. Let's say in the screen we can see this card where we have a candidate, we have you Sam as an interviewer. We can keep this component and this voice state inside that application, and if there are any shared state, manage those shared states among the variables, and then have a nice way to write functions as UI components.
Great explanation, Milind. You mentioned managing shared state among variables. Can you elaborate on how you would handle state management in a React application? For instance, what tools or libraries would you use and why?
So before jumping to tools and libraries, I would like to double tap on React primitives instead. So there are after the functional programming wave after React 18, I believe, when hooks were introduced, there are major hooks like use state, use reducer, and if you want to pull out the state, we can use context. All these hooks were introduced to manage the state in our UI application. So these are the things when you want to maintain a local state inside a component which has, let's say, an asynchronous state. We want to manage the intermediary stage like loading and pending states from an promise or external API source. We can handle those inside those local use state variables. But otherwise, if there is some shared state that we want to maintain, we can pull up the state and probably do some prop drilling, but that is not usually maintainable in a longer run. So we pull up the state and maintain a context out of it, and then inside the provider we have that state accessible. But if there's a very large code base as such, we can start using a global state management solution like Zustand or Redux toolkit for that, which uses a flux pattern which we can subscribe, dispatch events, and all that.
That's a comprehensive explanation, Milind. It's clear you have a solid understanding of state management in React. Let's move on to a practical scenario. Imagine you need to create a to-do list application where users can add, delete, and mark tasks as completed. How would you structure your components and manage the state for this application? Feel free to describe the code or logic you would use.
So, as classic as a to do application, I would like to first jot down my to do list items in a list and have a checkbox in those lists. First, make sure that the on click listener on the checkbox makes a update request to the server, or let's say if it's a front end only application, maintain the logic in the local storage with a JSON object. Hook up a few objects as dummy objects so that I can make the UI as fast as possible. In order to create them, I'll make a component to add the input box and the add to do button, and inside the input box we can have the event listener to set the state for the to do, and whenever the action is completed we can click the submit handler. That submit handler should have a on click which should then update the to-do list items, which can create a new to-do record in our local storage, or let's say if there's a server solution, or just update the object that we are handling with. So yeah, that's mostly it.
That's a solid approach, Milind. You've covered the basics well. Now, let's take it a step further. How would you optimize the performance of this to-do list application, especially if it grows to handle a large number of tasks? What best practices would you implement to ensure the application remains efficient and responsive?
um okay, talking about scale in the to do application, first of all, the first few things that come into mind are pagination. If there are a lot of to do things, we should probably be able to first of all paginate them. So either an infinite scroll application that if we desire to do so, we can leverage react query or use infinite query to use infinite queries. But if we want a standard tabular approach, we can just implement server side pagination and hook it up into the front end, and according to the page size we can render the to do list items. This is a standard approach, but if these to-do list actually grows a lot, we should probably have a filter to sort these to-dos to be manageable, to provide a good user experience for the user to be able to sort through or browse through their to-dos.
Excellent, Milind. You've demonstrated a strong grasp of performance optimization techniques. Let's consider a more complex scenario. Suppose your to-do list application needs to support real-time updates where multiple users can collaborate and see changes instantly. How would you implement this feature in React? What tools or libraries would you use? And how would you manage state synchronization across different clients?
So one thing that we can do, there are a lot of approaches for this kind of solution. The one current really trending approach is using a reactive database which automatically handles all of this for us. When we subscribe to a query or mutate some query, it automatically revalidates the queries in our front end client. It actually uses WebSocket under the hood, which subscribes to that instance in the database, and the database automatically handles the validation, revalidation, all that logic. But instead, if we want to maintain a shared experience, we could probably have some sync engine on the front end, let's say an index db which could sync all the tables that are there, which could constantly poll for the we need some kind of validation, revalidation logic. Whenever there is some mutation in the database, we need to fire a trigger, which so that all the client could be refreshed. So all this logic could be a little complex to implement, but using some good sync engine providers could help do the use case pretty well.
Impressive, Milind. You've clearly demonstrated a deep understanding of real-time updates and state synchronization in React applications. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to discuss or any questions you have about the role or the company?
um, Interesting. So where does this question stems up with real-time updates? Does your company really use these real-time updates in your application, and what does the culture look like? I would like to double tap on that.
Great question, Milind. Yes, we do use real time updates in our applications, especially in our collaborative tools and live data dashboards. This ensures that our users have the most up to date information at their fingertips. As for our company culture, we value innovation, collaboration, and continuous learning. We have a supportive environment where team members are encouraged to share ideas and work together to solve complex problems. We also prioritize work life balance and offer flexible working hours. Is there anything specific you'd like to know more about?
No, I think that'll be enough. Thank you for your time. So awesome. Let's see the analysis by AI, and then we can wrap it up. Awesome strengths, technical knowledge, demonstrated a solid understanding of React components, state management, problem solving skills, communication, explain technical concepts coherently and in detail, making it easy to follow throughout the process. Engagement, asks insightful questions. This is important during an interview, asking like where the mindset of the interviewer is, that why these questions come up, what is the use case at your company. Being interested in their things would, spark some conversations and interest. Areas of consciousness, some explanations were a bit lengthy and could be more concise to maintain clarity. Okay. Specificity, while discussing performance optimization, more specific examples. Yeah, I could, use, I mean, the window of, the AI thing is, it does not let you speak fully. I mean, if there is some pause, then it, takes up. So I wanted to explain, optimizations, things, but yeah. Yeah, awesome. I'll add this all in the description for people to analyze. Well, cool. Cheers.